Captain Kim Hannah stood in the control room of the spaceship Meridian. She looked out at the stars through the big window. Her face showed nothing. No smile. No frown. Just empty, like all humans had been for 300 years. The ship moved through space toward a dead planet called Kepler 442c. Old ruins waited there. Very old ruins that nobody understood yet. "Captain," said Park Jun from his chair. His voice came out flat and cold through the metal thing in his head. All humans had these things in their heads now. They made voices sound like machines. "We are getting close to the old city. The computers say it was built by the first ones." Hannah nodded once. She moved like a robot. Exact. Clean. No waste. Around the ship, alien crew members worked next to the humans. There was Veltar, who looked like a giant blue tree with too many arms. He was from the Villani people. There were also two Thek workers. They looked like walking diamonds that could talk. The aliens always watched the humans with curious eyes. They found humans useful but strange. Humans could fix any machine. They could fight any battle. They could solve any problem. But they never laughed. They never cried. They never got angry or happy or sad. Other aliens in the galaxy called humans the Silent Ones. They said humans had traded their hearts for brains. Humans were like living computers now. Dr. Lee Minute sat at his desk looking at pictures of the ruins below. He was the smart person who studied old things. His eyes moved across the data like he was reading a shopping list. No excitement. No wonder. Just cold facts going into his head. "The ruins are very old," he said to nobody in particular. "Maybe older than any city we know about. The stones look like they grew instead of being built." The alien workers stopped to listen. When aliens found something old and mysterious, they got excited. Their voices got higher. They moved faster. They asked many questions. But Dr. Lee Minute just kept reading his papers like they were instructions for making tea. Captain Hannah walked through the ship's halls. Everything was clean and white. The walls showed no pictures. No decorations. Nothing that might make someone feel something. Human ships were famous for being perfect and empty at the same time. She passed the eating room where humans sat in rows, eating gray food cubes. Nobody talked. They just chewed and swallowed like machines that needed fuel. The alien crew members ate together at their own table, talking and laughing about their day. The humans ate alone even when they sat together. In the sleeping area, humans lay on hard beds staring at the ceiling. Some read reports on their screens. Others just waited for sleep to come. None of them dreamed anymore. The metal things in their heads made sure of that. Long ago, before the metal things, humans had been different. They sang songs. They painted pictures. They told stories. They hugged their children and kissed their lovers and cried when friends died. But that was before the Great Silence. 300 years ago, when humans first met aliens, something went wrong. Very wrong. An alien ship had sent out a signal to talk to human minds. But human minds were too strong. Too loud. Too full of feelings. The alien signal made human emotions explode like bombs. People went crazy from too much love. Others died from too much sadness. Fear became so strong it killed. Joy became so bright it burned. In one day, human cities turned into madhouses where people screamed and cried and laughed until they broke. The few humans who lived built the metal things to put in their heads. The metal things pushed all feelings down, down, down until they were buried so deep that humans forgot they were ever there. It saved humanity. But it also killed something important. Now, 3 centuries later, humans lived like ghosts of what they used to be. They helped build the great ships that flew between stars. They made the computers that ran whole planets. They fought in the wars that kept peace in the galaxy. But they never wondered why the sunset was beautiful. They never felt proud when they did good work. They never felt love for their families or friends. The other aliens in the galaxy thought this was just how humans were made. They thought humans were born cold and empty. They used humans like tools and never thought humans might want something more. Captain Hannah reached the front of the ship again. Through the window, the dead planet grew bigger. The ruins covered half of the world's surface. Broken towers reached toward the sky like fingers asking for help. "Begin landing," she said to Park Jun. "Yes, Captain," he replied. Neither of them felt curious about what they might find down there. Neither of them felt excited about the adventure ahead. They were just doing their jobs, like they always did. The ship settled onto the planet's surface with a soft bump. Dust rose around them like golden smoke. In the distance, the old city waited. Dr. Lee Minute gathered his tools. Dr. Choi Bin, another scientist, checked his scanning machines. They would go down to the ruins and study them. They would measure and record and analyze everything they found. They had no idea that in those ancient stones lay something that would change everything. Something that would wake up what had been sleeping in human hearts for 300 years. Something that would make the galaxy tremble when humanity remembered how to feel again. The ruins held secrets older than any civilization. And soon, very soon, those secrets would teach humans how to be human again. The morning sun made long shadows across the old ruins. Dr. Lee Minute walked down the broken steps into the ancient city. Behind him came Dr. Choi Bin and the alien team members. Their boots made small clouds of dust with each step. The buildings were strange. They did not look like squares and rectangles like normal buildings. Instead, they curved and twisted like they had grown from the ground like plants. The walls were smooth and white, made from something that was not quite stone and not quite metal. Very interesting, said Dr. Lee Minute in his flat voice. He pointed his scanner at the walls. The material is something new. It has crystals inside it but also living cells that died long ago. Dr. Choi Bin nodded and wrote notes on his pad. His face showed nothing, just like all humans. But inside his head, something very small was starting to wake up. Something that had been sleeping for 300 years. They walked deeper into the ruins. The buildings got taller and stranger. Some had holes that went up and down like they were made for creatures that could fly. Others had rooms that were perfect circles or triangles. Nothing looked like it was made for humans or any aliens they knew. In the center of the old city stood something amazing. It was a tower made of crystal that reached high into the sky. The crystal was clear like water but it moved inside like it was alive. Colors flowed through it, blue and green and gold, like lights dancing. "What is that thing?" asked Veltar, the big blue alien. His tree-like arms waved in the air as he talked. Even aliens who had seen many strange things were surprised by this crystal tower. "Unknown," said Dr. Lee Minute. But as he looked at the tower, something happened that had not happened to a human in centuries. He felt curious. Just a tiny bit. So small he did not even notice it himself. The team walked around the tower in a circle. It was as wide as 10 people holding hands and so tall they could not see the top. The crystal surface was warm to touch, even though the morning air was cold. Dr. Choi Bin took out his tools to study the crystal. As he got closer, the colors inside began to move faster. They swirled and danced like they knew he was there. "The crystal is reacting to something," said Dr. Lee Minute, "maybe our body heat. Or our brain waves." Dr. Choi Bin reached out with his scanner. But the machine was heavy and he was not paying attention. It slipped from his hands and hit the ground with a loud crash. "Oh no," he said, and bent down to pick it up. That was when it happened. As Dr. Choi Bin bent down, his hand touched the crystal tower. Just for 1 second. Just the tips of his fingers against the warm, smooth surface. The world exploded. Not with fire or noise. But with something much more powerful. Something that had been locked away in human hearts for 300 years came rushing back like water through a broken dam. Dr. Choi Bin felt his chest get warm. Then the warmth spread up to his throat. His mouth began to move in a way it had not moved since he was a baby. And then he laughed. It started as just a small sound. Like air escaping from a bottle. But it grew bigger and bigger until it filled the whole ancient city. Dr. Choi Bin threw back his head and laughed with pure, perfect joy. The alien team members froze like statues. In 300 years of working with humans, none of them had ever heard a human laugh. The sound was beautiful and terrible at the same time. It made them want to cry and dance and run away all at once. "What is happening to you?" asked Dr. Lee Minute. But his voice was different now. Not flat and empty like before. There was worry in it. And surprise. And something else he could not name. Dr. Choi Bin tried to answer but he could not stop laughing. Tears ran down his face, not sad tears but happy tears that sparkled in the sunlight. His whole body shook with laughter that came from deep inside, from a place that had been dark for centuries. "I feel," he tried to say between laughs. "I feel everything." Dr. Lee Minute stared at his friend. Dr. Choi Bin's face had changed. The empty mask that all humans wore was gone. Instead, his eyes were bright and alive. His cheeks were red with excitement. He looked like he was seeing the world for the first time. "This is impossible," whispered Dr. Lee Minute. But even as he said it, he felt his own curiosity growing stronger. What was this crystal? What had it done to his friend? Dr. Choi Bin finally stopped laughing but his face still glowed with happiness. He looked at his hands like he had never seen them before. Then he looked at the sky and the ruins and his friends like they were the most wonderful things in the universe. "Minute," he said, and his voice was full of warmth. You have to touch it. You have to feel this. Feel what? Asked Dr. Lee Minute. Alive, said Dr. Choi Bin. For the first time in my life, I feel alive. Dr. Lee Minute stepped closer to the crystal tower. The colors inside moved faster, like they were excited. His hand shook as he reached out. 300 years of emptiness made him afraid. What if feeling things hurt too much? What if this was dangerous? But Dr. Choi Bin was smiling at him with such joy that Dr. Lee Minute could not help himself. He put his hand on the crystal. The warmth hit him like lightning. His eyes went wide. His mouth opened in surprise. And for the first time since he was a child, Dr. Lee Minute felt wonder fill his heart like sunlight after a long, cold night. Above them, in the ship, Captain Kim Hannah received their signal. Something was happening down in the ruins. Something that would change everything forever. News of the crystal spread faster than light through human space. Within 1 week, ships from every human world flew toward Kepler 442c. Every human who heard the story wanted to touch the crystal that made Dr. Choi Bin laugh. Captain Kim Hannah was the first to try it after the two scientists. When her fingers touched the warm crystal surface, something broke open inside her chest. She felt her heart beating for the first time in 30 years. Not just the pump that moved blood, but the heart that could feel love and pain and hope. She looked at her crew with new eyes and saw them as people, not just workers. Park Jun, who had served with her for 10 years, was not just a good officer. He was her friend. She had never known that before. More ships arrived every day. Humans lined up to touch the crystal tower. Each time someone new made contact, the same thing happened. The empty masks fell away from their faces. The cold voices became warm. The robot movements became human again. Dr. Yang Ho-suk was a brain scientist who lived on Earth's moon. When he heard about the crystal, he flew to Kepler 442c in his small research ship. After he touched the crystal and felt emotions flood back into his mind, he spent days studying what had happened to him. We were never supposed to be empty, he told the growing crowd of awakened humans. The metal things in our heads do not just block feelings. They block part of what makes us human. We are like birds that forgot how to fly. He found old records from before the Great Silence. Pictures of humans singing and dancing. Videos of mothers holding babies with faces full of love. Stories written by people who felt things so deeply that their words could make others cry just by reading them. Look at this, Dr. Yang showed them a painting made by a human 350 years ago. It showed a sunset over an ocean, but the colors were so beautiful and alive that the awakened humans gasped when they saw it. Before touching the crystal, they would have seen only colored marks on canvas. On New Seoul, the biggest human colony, artist Nam Soo-jin touched a smaller crystal that had been brought from the ruins. Immediately, her hands began to shake with need. She ran to her art room, which had been empty for 20 years, and began to paint. She painted for 3 days without stopping. When she finished, she had created something no one had ever seen before. It was a picture of a human child laughing, but the colors seemed to glow with their own light. The child's joy was so real that anyone who looked at the painting felt happy too. When the painting was put in the Galaxy Art Museum, aliens came from 50 different worlds to see it. Many of them cried when they looked at it, though they did not understand why. The Villani ambassador said it was like looking at pure happiness turned into light. How did humans hide this power for so long? Asked the Thek cultural minister. This painting makes our hearts sing, and we do not even have hearts like humans do. Similar things happened on every human world. Engineer Kim Dsom, who had built space stations that were perfect but ugly, began designing buildings that were still perfect but also beautiful. Her new space dock looked like a flower made of metal and glass. Ships that landed there said it felt like coming home. Poet Han Woojin wrote his first poem in 40 years. It was only 12 words long, but when he read it out loud, every human who heard it started to cry. The words were, "Stars remember when we sang to them. Now we sing again." But the most amazing changes happened when humans had to fight. Captain Kang Seminit ran a small defense station near the edge of human space. Pirates attacked her station regularly, and she always fought them off with cold, smart tactics. Her battles were like chess games played with laser guns. But when Dominion scouts attacked her station after she had touched one of the crystals, everything was different. As enemy ships surrounded her station, Captain Kang did not just think about shield strength and weapon angles. She thought about the families living on her station. She thought about old Mrs. Park, who made the best noodles in the galaxy. She thought about little Tommy Kim, who was only 5 years old and drew pictures of spaceships. Love filled her heart like fire. Not the gentle love of holding hands, but the fierce love of a mother bear protecting her cubs. She fought like she had never fought before. "All units, defend our home," she said over the radio, and her voice was so full of love and determination that her pilots felt brave enough to fight impossible odds. The battle lasted only 10 minutes. When it was over, the Dominion ships were running away and Captain Kang's people were cheering. But she was crying, not from sadness but from overwhelming love for every person she had saved. The Dominion admiral who escaped sent a message back to his commanders: "The humans are not cold anymore. They fight with something we do not understand. They are dangerous now. Very dangerous." But the admiral was wrong. Humans were not more dangerous. They were more human. Dr. Choi Bin, who had been the first to laugh, started a school for awakened humans. He taught them how to feel emotions safely, how to love without being hurt, how to be sad without being destroyed. "For 300 years, we were afraid of our own hearts," he told his students. "But hearts are not bombs that explode. They are gardens that need care to grow beautiful things." More crystal towers were found on 12 different worlds. Each one woke up more humans. Soon, half of humanity was awake and feeling again. The galaxy watched with growing amazement and fear. These new humans were not the quiet, useful tools they had known before. They were something else entirely. Something powerful and beautiful and completely unknown. And in the dark corners of space, the Dominion prepared for war. Admiral Kregstar stood in his war room looking at pictures of humans on the big screen. For 50 years, he had studied them. He knew exactly how they fought. Cold. Smart. Like machines that could think. But these new reports made no sense. "Show me the Haven battle again," he told his officers. The screen showed the attack on Haven Colony. It should have been easy. Haven had only 2,000 humans and weak defenses. The Dominion had sent 10 warships. It should have been over in 1 hour. Instead, the battle lasted 3 days. And the Dominion lost. "Look at this human commander," said Captain Vextor, pointing at the screen. "Oh Ji-hoon. He cries during the battle. Tears run down his face while he fights. This makes no sense." Admiral Kregstar watched Commander Oh Ji-hoon lead his small group of defenders. The human was crying, yes. But he was not crying from fear. He was crying from something else. Something that made him fight like a wild animal protecting its babies. When the computer said his chances of winning were very small, Commander Oh did not give up. Instead, he fought harder. When his friends died, he did not get scared. He got angry. But not cold angry like old humans. This was hot angry, like fire in his heart. "He fights like he loves these people more than his own life," whispered Captain Vextor. "How do we fight against that?" The battle recordings showed things that scared the Dominion officers. Human soldiers singing songs while they shot at enemies. Human pilots flying damaged ships into Dominion vessels while laughing. Human medics running into danger to save wounded enemies, not just their own people. One human woman, Dr. Im So-young, had run into the middle of a battle to help a wounded Dominion soldier. She was shot 3 times but kept working to save the enemy who had been trying to kill her minutes before. "She saved our soldier's life," said Captain Vextor. Then she looked at him and said, "I forgive you." Our soldier put down his gun and refused to fight anymore. Admiral Kregstar felt something cold in his stomach. Fear. These humans were not just different. They were impossible to understand. More reports came in from other battles. On Vega Station, Captain Kang Seminit had defeated a Dominion attack force twice her size. But she did not win with better weapons or smarter tactics. She won because her people fought with love. Love was not something the Dominion understood. Love was weakness. Love made you soft. Love made you care about others more than yourself. How could love make someone stronger in battle? But the evidence was clear. Humans who fought with love were much more dangerous than humans who fought with cold logic. Pilot Yoon Minute-ho had crashed his broken fighter into a Dominion battleship. But before he died, he sent a message to the enemy ship. Not threats or curses. He sang a song his mother had taught him when he was little. A gentle song about forgiveness and hope. 300 Dominion soldiers heard that song as their ship exploded. 50 of them survived the crash. When rescue ships found them, they were all crying. They said they could not stop thinking about the human who had sung to them as he died. "He killed us with kindness," one survivor said. "How do you fight someone who loves you even as you try to kill them?" Admiral Kregstar called a meeting with all his top commanders. The room was full of the strongest warriors in the Dominion fleet. They had conquered 40 star systems. They had never lost a war. But now they sat around the table looking scared. These humans are not the same species we have been watching, Admiral Krextar told them. Something has changed them. Made them dangerous in a new way. Maybe we should try to make peace with them, suggested Captain Zorkil. She was young and had not fought humans before. The older officers laughed at her. Make peace with humans? They are tools, not people. You do not make peace with a hammer. But Admiral Krextar did not laugh. He had seen the battle recordings. He had watched humans die with smiles on their faces while protecting others. He had seen them forgive enemies who had tried to kill them. What if she is right? He said quietly. What if we have been wrong about humans? The room became silent. This was a scary idea. If humans were not tools, if they were actually people with hearts and souls, then the Dominion had been doing something very wrong for 300 years. No, said General Thaxmore, the oldest warrior in the room. Humans are things. Useful things. But still just things. These new emotions make them weak. We attack now, before they spread to all humans. Admiral Krextar looked at the battle reports again. Weak? These humans had fought 10-to-1 odds and won. They had turned Dominion soldiers into people who refused to fight. They had died singing songs of love. Prepare the full invasion fleet, he ordered. But his voice was not sure anymore. Deep in his heart, Admiral Krextar knew they were making a terrible mistake. These emotional humans were not weaker than the old ones. They were stronger. Much stronger. But the Dominion war machine was already moving. 1,000 ships began flying toward human space. The biggest invasion fleet in Dominion history was going to destroy these strange, loving, dangerous humans once and for all. What the Dominion did not understand was simple. When you have nothing to live for, you fight to survive. But when you have everything to live for, you fight to protect it. And humans now had everything to live for. The galaxy was about to learn what happened when the most emotional species in the universe finally remembered how to feel. Captain Kim Hanna stood on the bridge of her new ship, the Harmony. Behind her, 300 human ships flew in formation toward the Dominion home world. But these ships did not fly in straight lines like military fleets usually did. They flew in curves and spirals, like birds dancing in the sky. Like music made visible. Each ship followed not just computer commands but the feelings in their captain's heart. Admiral Krextar is asking to talk to us, said Communications Officer Bae Junseo. His voice was warm now, full of life. Not the cold robot voice from before. Captain Hanna nodded. She had been expecting this call. The screen lit up and showed Admiral Krextar's face. He looked old and tired. His eyes were full of fear, but also something else. Something that might have been sadness. Human Captain, he said in his deep voice. I see your fleet. You come to destroy us, yes? To pay us back for our attacks. Captain Hanna looked at him for a long moment. Then she did something no one expected. She smiled. No, Admiral, she said softly. We did not come to hurt you. We came to understand you. Admiral Krextar's face showed confusion. Understand? But we attacked your people. We killed your friends. Do you not want revenge? We want something better than revenge, said Captain Hanna. We want peace. Then she began to sing. It was an old Korean song that her grandmother had taught her long, long ago, before the Great Silence. A lullaby about children playing under starlight. Her voice was clear and sweet, full of love and memories. The song traveled across space from her ship to his. On the Dominion command ship, every officer stopped working to listen. They had never heard anything like it. The melody was simple, but it carried something powerful inside it. Something that touched hearts they did not know they had. Admiral Krextar felt tears come to his eyes. He did not understand why. The song was just sounds, just vibrations in the air. But it made him remember being young. It made him remember his mother's face, which he had not thought about in 50 years. When the song ended, Captain Hanna spoke again. We did not come to conquer your world, Admiral. We came to offer you friendship. Real friendship, freely given, with no strings attached. But why? Whispered Admiral Krextar. After what we have done to you, why would you offer friendship? Because that is what love does, said Captain Hanna. Love forgives. Love sees the good in others even when they cannot see it themselves. And we have learned to love again. Behind her, the human fleet waited. They could have destroyed the Dominion ships easily. The humans had better weapons now, powered not just by technology but by the fierce love of people protecting their families. But the weapons stayed quiet. Admiral Krextar looked at his officers. They were all staring at the screen with wonder on their faces. These strange humans had come across the galaxy not to fight, but to sing lullabies to their enemies. "I do not understand you," he said to Captain Hannah. "We are your enemies. We have killed your people." "You were our enemies," she replied. "But enemies can become friends. If both sides want it enough." On the planet below, millions of Dominion citizens watched the sky. They expected to see fire and destruction as the human fleet attacked their world. Instead, they heard music. The human ships began broadcasting songs. Not military songs or victory marches. Gentle songs about hope and forgiveness. Children's lullabies. Love songs between people who missed each other. Composer Sao Minute J had written a special song for this moment. It was called "We Are All Under the Same Stars." When the human fleet played it, something magical happened. The Dominion people began to cry. Not from fear, but from beauty. The music was so lovely that it made them remember what it felt like to be happy. What it felt like to love someone. On his command ship, Admiral Kregstar put his head in his hands and wept like a child. 50 years of war and anger melted away as he listened to humans sing about forgiveness. "We surrender," he whispered. "What?" asked Captain Hannah. "We surrender," he said louder. "Not to your weapons. Not to your ships. We surrender to your kindness." The war ended with tears instead of explosions. Dominion soldiers put down their guns not because they were forced to, but because they chose to. When humans offered them friendship, real friendship, they could not say no. In the days that followed, something wonderful happened. Human diplomat Han Yujin came to the Dominion home world not with treaties and demands, but with gifts. Art made by human children. Songs recorded by human families. Stories written by people who had learned it to feel again. The gifts were not valuable like gold or jewels. They were valuable like sunshine after rain. They reminded the Dominion people that life could be beautiful. Soon, children from both human and Dominion worlds were playing together. They did not care about the old wars. They just wanted to be friends. Dr. Choi Bin, the first human to laugh again, opened a school on the Dominion homeworld. He taught both human and alien children how to understand their feelings. How to be kind to others. How to make friends instead of enemies. "Look," he told his students, pointing up at the night sky. "All those stars are suns. Around those suns are planets. On those planets are people like us, trying to be happy and safe. We are all neighbors in this big galaxy." The final day of the story came when the galaxy's leaders met on a peaceful world to sign the new treaty. But this treaty was different from all others. Instead of being about trade or borders, it was about friendship. As the ceremony ended, children from 17 different species ran onto the stage. They held hands in a big circle and began to sing together. Human voices mixed with alien voices, creating a harmony that had never been heard before. Their laughter rose up to the stars like music. And across the galaxy, on 1,000 different worlds, people stopped their work to listen and smile. The universe had trembled not because humanity became violent when they found their voice again, but because they became so beautiful that even the stars seemed to dance with joy. In the end, the greatest weapon humanity possessed was not their ships or guns or clever plans. It was their ability to love others, even those who had hurt them. And that love changed everything forever.